Clutch Trucker filmed before a live and fuzzy studio audience. Yep, that's Rusty, the world-famous meatball dog. Hey YouTube, Clutch Trucker here. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Clutch Trucker channel. Alright, when last we spoke, I was still dealing with the beam, trying to get that up there. Luckily I didn't really get started on it too early today because John Hallgren, again, thank you John, he repairs cottages and stuff out on Cape Cod, so he's working on projects in homes and stuff all the time, and he said, he even gave me a sketch. So he had a real good idea. He's like, okay, if you just move that board over a little bit, and instead of having, well, you'd have to do a new board, but move it over a little bit, and instead of just notching it, you just use the multi-tool and cut that hole for that cross beam, which is up there behind my head, to slide on into it. And then it'll stick far enough forward that it'll match the bracket on the floor. And I'm like, that makes perfect sense, because I was trying to figure out how to make that work. I thought I'd have to go try to find a different bracket. But I wanted it to be just a straight angle. I didn't want to have it stressed in one place and stressed over here. So I thought, well, that makes perfect sense. And so I had responded to his email saying, okay, well, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to go with a 2x8 board instead of a 2x6. And he was saying, well, why do you need a 2x8? And I explained, well, I still want to take advantage of that metal beam going across that I notched out for, so that I can attach brackets there as well as to the floor and to the ceiling, so it'll be attached all over. And he said, oh yeah, I didn't realize you were doing it that way. So, and then he had read my mind as far as it going up towards the top. It sticks out of that jutted part in the ceiling about that much. So he said, well, you can just angle cut that up to the ceiling because it doesn't need to do anything else up there. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I plan to do. You read my mind, buddy. So John, thanks for your input, and thanks for your little sketch too. And thanks again to everybody who's commented and given me suggestions. That's why I like doing these daily videos, because if I run into any snags at all, you guys come through with options, ideas, great responses. So that's helping make the project go better, and it's helping so that I don't do something wrong and then have to strip it back down and rebuild, which is kind of what I'm going to have to do tonight. But I can still use the beam that's up there now, that was almost right, as a template for the new board that I just went out and bought today. Bought the 2x8. And as a bonus, then I'm also going to go ahead and wrap that board, because I realized all this exposed wood you see up here, like this up here behind me, any exposed just beam type stuff that is just structural is going to be covered in vinyl, in a vinyl wrap that actually was my old curtains that went behind my driver's seat and passenger seat. I never used those curtains, and I will never use them again. I just use the one that go around the windshield and side windows to close it off. I don't like to split my already small sleeper space in two, so I never use those curtains. But they're like 7.5 feet tall. They go across the width of the cab, so there's plenty of vinyl for me to use to wrap all this exposed wood. This is the little touch that's going to make it look like I brought it somewhere else to have them do the sleeper. Not only that, I bought some batting, kind of like foam, little padding that you use and cushions and so forth. Bought some of that today at Hobby Lobby, and that's going to go on the front edge of this beam underneath the vinyl, so it's kind of got a little padded look to it. Plus, that way if you wonk your head on it, it won't hurt as bad. So first step right now is I'm going to take the board that I did get up there, basically in place and everything last night. It's just wasn't quite working. So I'm going to use that as the template and now cut out everything I need to cut out on the new board. And then I'm going to get that up there and fit it into place. Then I'll do the angle cut towards the top, and then I'm going to wrap it in vinyl. And before I put that one up, I've got to wrap the side board up there that's holding up the upper bunk that goes back towards the back wall. I've got to wrap that in vinyl because I want that to go over, the new one to go over against that, so it'll have all a finished look. So you're going to kind of get an idea at the end of this video how this is going to be looking more when it's finished. Ordered 2 of these from Thermo King in Denver yesterday, and they arrived today. I've got to replace the one I ran up into the back rear wall. I had the wrong size, so I'm going to have a new one. This is a 4-inch vent. I had a 4-inch hole, and I wanted another one because there are 4 ducts coming out the back of the APU, and I'm going to take advantage of that last one and have it pop out in the steer area. All right, got the new board all cut and in place. This is now a 2x8 as opposed to the 2x6 I was using. It was thanks to John Hallgren's idea of notching a hole through it instead of just notching out the side. Now this whole board wraps around this beam, which is nice. Goes up to the ceiling. I'm going to taper that in so that it doesn't jut out that little edge there. So there's going to be an angle cut up there. And now, if you can see down here at the bottom, we hit that bracket right where it needs to hit. So I can tighten that bolt down on the floor. I can put a bolt right through there. That'll hold it into place. I wanted to go with a 2x8 instead of a 2x6, so I can still use brackets to go from that board to this little metal cross member right there, so I can take advantage of tightening it down there. It'll be tightened down there. It wraps around this board with the hole I put into it, and it'll attach up there. It's flush right now. I left enough wiggle room that I will push down so I can get the bracket and the bolt up there. Okay, I've got my batting cut. It doesn't need to pad this side. It's going to pad this side, which is where you'll be walking up the stairway area, and it's going to pad that front side, aiming out towards the driver's seats. Now I've got the vinyl lined up on this side. I'm going to pull it over and cut that. All right, got the board all vinyl wrapped, and no padding on this side, because that's going to go against the other board, but we do have padding. Oh, keep it from falling off here. On this side, so a little bit of a cushion to it, and on that front edge too. So that's going to help it look a little nicer. Just held in with staples for right now. I'm going to use some finishing screws to cover that up, make it look a little bit better. Okay, I covered up those staples with those finishing washers and screws. I think that looks a lot nicer. Anyway, so we're going to get this board up in a moment, but first I have to vinyl wrap the other board. Yeah, I got to vinyl wrap this board from the back wall up to right up here, and I'll be padding up until that line. So first I'm going to put the batting on and staple that down. Alright, got the batting up, got the vinyl up. This is now nice and padded on this side. It's padded over the top, since this is where, you know, my legs will be hanging down over the mattress and everything. So we've got that one wrapped in vinyl. Now we can put up our other board. Okay, took a lot of finagling, but finally got it in. The lower board there, you see, is right in front of that bracket where it needs to be. So we're going to put a bolt through there. I really had to work this. I had to get up there and get my weight on the whole upper bunk area because I knew it had to push down a little bit. But we got it to slide through. I have the vinyl exposed up there so I can put that bolt in through the ceiling bracket. And then I'm going to push that back up into place. So, like I say, this took a lot of finagling and a lot of work. But it's essentially in place. Now we just have to bolt it down here at the bottom, bolt it up there at the top. I'm going to put brackets there going into that metal rail right there. And I'm going to put brackets on this one right here, or no, bolts, going one here and one down here, going all the way through this side rail, which is now covered in vinyl. So you can kind of start to see the look of how this is going to be. You don't see it on the front yet. I may or may not get to the vinyl on that one tonight. So yeah, I cut myself again. Look at all, I had to put on all these little tiny Band-Aids. Why is it Band-Aid boxes give you 35 million of the little Band-Aids and like 3 of the big ones? If you're like me, you always, if you're going to gash yourself or cut yourself, you need the big ones. So now I had to make do with all these little tiny ones. Gotta love it. For those of you curious, yes, I've been using this staple gun here. This is, I don't know, it's an Arrow. Oh, okay, Arrow staple gun. To attach all the vinyl in and the batting and all that. Works pretty good. So it was only like $17. But that's good to strap the batting down, then the vinyl around it. That's how I've been doing that. Like I showed you, I did the finishing screws and the finishing washers on that exposed side of the board. It's going to be facing towards the back just to make it look a little bit nicer. Alright, just put the 3/8 inch drill bit back in here into the old Ryobi. Yeah. So I can drill all the bolt holes now. I've got to do one at the bottom, one at the top, and 2 going into the side rail. And then we'll do those. I got machine self-drilling right here. What is this? Yeah. Tex self-drilling screws, metal to metal. That's what I'm going to put these little brackets in for, or with. They're going to go against that metal rail. Alright, I think this is where I'm going to stop tonight. I'm just running out of gas. Did get that bottom bolt into that bracket. You can see on the other side of the beam there. That's bolted down to the floor. Screwed that down to the floor as far as it would go. That's solid as hell. The vinyl does not cover the bottom part of that beam because that'll be hidden by my first step. That's, of course, going to be going up there and up to there and eventually going to the landing. But that beam is now all covered in vinyl. That looks nice, doesn't it? Goes across the front beam for the bed structure. And that's notched into that beam, which you can't even see because, of course, the vinyl covers that up. And at the top, that's bolted in up there to a bracket to the ceiling that was threaded in. And again, you can't see that because that's also covered up by the vinyl. So, side rail now covered in vinyl. I try not to have any exposed bolts, but I had to have these two from this rail that goes up to the ceiling. But most of the bolts are not going to be exposed. Most of the wood structure is not going to be exposed. This is going to be covered in vinyl too, going all the way over to that wall. We'll be working on that tomorrow. I tell you, now that this post is in place, attached to the floor, attached to the ceiling, and notched in through there and everything, this is solid as hell. I have no problem getting myself up there, and I weigh a good 300 pounds. So, yep, I wouldn't even mind throwing a couple of fat girls up there. About the only thing I did not get done tonight is putting that bracket that's going to go on that metal beam right there into that part of the upward post. But I'm just done tonight. It's about 1:30 in the morning. We're quitting here now. Well, we hope you enjoyed that one. I think this shows a little more progress as far as with the vinyl wrapping now. You can kind of get a better idea of how, at least envision it a little bit better, how it's going to look towards the end. And that's the way it's going to look nicer, and it's going to look more like I brought it someplace else to get it done. Him and his yawning, I tell you. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe. Please like and comment if you'd like to. Don't forget about Clutch Trucker on Instagram, Clutch Trucker on Twitter. And as always, sniff that magic YouTube fairy dust. Clutch and Rusty, out. So is this a new car here, sir? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is. You know, it still has that smell. All right, he's eyeing that strip. And he got it on the first try. All right, Rusty. There you go. Give us the happy dog look. Come on. Happy dog look. Rusty. Yeah, he's not looking up. He's too into the begging strip. Come on, Rusty. There you go.